but they'd never heard it. Now, folks, we're not going to cut those people off from hearing truth. So if you appreciate what we're doing, we need your support, and we need it now. WorldviewFoundation.com. You'll also find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail. Please do so today. Consider setting up an automatic contribution. WorldviewFoundation.com. Thank you.
Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff Operations Officer, assisted the National Security Team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan, and served as the Vice Commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
Anthony Constantino, a man with a big heart, a real conservative, and he is really smart. He is the CEO of Sticker Mule, a company that uses every tool. Sticker Mule is really cool. Anthony has things going in high gear. We support his cause. Sticker Mule is everywhere. He's a man who truly does care. Sticker Mule is on the move with many things to prove. A real conservative who's really in the groove. He's reaching out his hand to you and me. Is a man who wants to keep us free. And he'll make America great again. Yes, he'll make America great again, great again.
Welcome back to Whistleblower Wednesday. The Rob Maness Show's live on Worldview Tube and our X Spaces simulcast. Well, New York State, death threats. What? Death threats against a huge Trump supporter. An Islamic communist wins the mayor's primary in America's largest city. It's definitely time for some Republican renewal in that state. Wow. It's just amazing. It's a lot of craziness, and it's just going to get worse. Much worse, unless New Yorkers with gumption are willing to step into the arena and fix it. And these are serious issues, as the biggest Trump supporter in the state had a death threat, not from an Islamist terrorist or a crazy communist Democrat, but from the chairman of the state's conservative party. Yes, the state conservative party, folk. New York City's Democrats just elected an Islamist communist as its nominee for the mayor's race, and this guy wants the government to run your grocery stores, not to mention he hates Israel and will make the city a sanctuary for Islamist terrorists. Well, my guest today is that huge Trump supporter who had his life threatened, Anthony Constantino, who you just saw there. Anthony built a 1,200-plus person company called Sticker Mule. He likes to solve big problems. He worked to stop anti-Trump hate ever since a bullet hit the president. He built the country's largest vote for Trump sign and defeated a Democrat restraining order so he could light it up. and he's also recently stepped up to be the New York State Director of Republicans for National Renewal. Anthony, welcome to the Rob Maness Show, sir. And I love being able to show a video like that. I always do a cold open video when I start the show in each segment, and I had to show yours because that's one of the best ones I've seen, man. Thank you so much.
Right, how about that? Was fan made, so how about that, right?
It was fantastic.
It's,
Hopefully you could see my smile.
Yeah, the singer's a pastor named John Ochopinti who reached out after he saw what I did with the Vote for Trump sign and made that song for me. And then somebody else chopped up the video and made it a little more interesting. So yeah, people like it.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I know you're very busy and the show's an hour, so I want to make the best of your time. So Sticker Mule, tell folks about Sticker Mule, why you started that company and what your main focus is, because honestly, in all transparency, folks, I got to eat dinner one night with the two most fascinating people I've ever met in my life and got the opportunity to spend time with. One was this CEO, Anthony Constantino, and the other was Roger Stone. So I'm excited to have you on. I love your company and I love what you do. So tell them about Sticker Mule.
Yeah, so Roger was the one that talked me to get into politics. My co-founder talked me into starting a business. 15 years ago, I had a friend of mine. He was in his 70s. He never used the internet before. We started BSing one day, and he said, we got to start an internet company together. We didn't even know anything. He didn't know anything about the internet. I knew a little bit about it, and he said, "No, I'm serious. We got to get going." And here we are 15 years later, and it turned into a big success. But I moved very quickly, and my co-founder always said, he said the company was born out of frustration. Both he and I grew up in manufacturing. I lived in a manufacturing town, worked in manufacturing. He worked in manufacturing his whole life, and there was a big problem back then with manufacturers not having a direct relationship with customers, and that's still the situation for the most part with a lot of manufacturers, where there's many layers in the distribution chain where manufacturers make and they sell to another guy who sells to another guy who sells to the end customer. And I said, I want to have a direct relationship with the end customer because I think it'd be the best way to build a successful, sustainable manufacturing company that grows. Where if we treat the customer right, if we do a great job, the business grows and the factory gets rewarded. All too often in manufacturing, prior to Sticker Mule, the factory can perform incredibly, but if you're working through distribution layers, you could lose a partner, and all of a sudden, you got layoffs, or you got things going in not a good direction, and it has nothing to do with the performance of the manufacturing operation. So, the company was born out of frustration, working in manufacturing, working in factories. We wanted a relationship with the customer. We wanted control over our destiny, and that was the idea behind Sticker Mule. We weren't particularly interested in stickers. We just wanted to do a manufacturing company of sorts. And yeah, it took off right away. Our biggest problem for the first 2 years was we had too many customers.
That's a good problem to have, man.
Yeah,
that tells you got good ideas, good products, people want them. It gives you something to do to solve it.
Yeah, so some people know that we grew and grew and grew like crazy. And I think it was 2016, we were 6 years into the business. We were a few hundred people at the time. And some people know this, some people don't, but I was actually one of the first people canceled in 2016 for supporting the president. I made a $500 donation and I wrote a few tweets in support of the president, and people found out about it and they went nuts. And so we got our first experience with cancellation in 2016, tens of thousands of emails, hate mails, writing us. And if you've never experienced cancellation before, it catches you off guard and it can be a little bit traumatic. The company woke up one day to all these people saying they hate us, social media saying they hate us, and we didn't know what to make of it. But we got through it, and we ended up, I think, getting canceled, I think, a total of 5 times over different things over the years. But each experience with cancellation made us stronger, made us tougher, made us more acclimated to it. So when the president finally got shot, I was able to say, enough's enough, and I'm gonna do something, a bit bigger, and to really try to address the situation and deal with all the hate that was on my way. I knew the Democrats.
Where did the big lighted sign come into play? Because it's on top of your building, right? Your company's building. Where did that come into play?
I like to be creative. I like to move quickly, and so the president got shot. I immediately endorsed him. That actually created a massive stir. It was unbelievable, the response on social media. We were receiving 100,000 emails a day. So the first time canceled 10,000 emails, we were getting 100,000 emails a day over my endorsement. And once I was in the fight, I said, what else can we do? to help the president, to help the country, because one of the big problems in the country was people were scared to admit they even liked the president. Now everyone's saying they love him, but there was a time when, believe it or not, maybe people can remember, people were scared to say they even liked them. And I said I can counter that by putting a giant vote for Trump sign in a blue state in a blue city, and just show people they don't have to be scared anymore. And so that was the idea behind it. And the Democrats went wild, immediately brought an illegal restraining order against me, which only made the story bigger, got me in the New York Times, got me thanked by the president twice. And, only made the story bigger, and I think helped heal the divide more so because it ended up being a sign that so many people saw really all over the world. And that got me connected to Roger and I ended up becoming friends with Roger. And next thing I know, the president wins the election in a landslide, which I predicted. And Roger
Hmm.
wanted to meet me, and Roger's telling me I should run for Congress.
Yeah, I agreed with him. By the way, and was not surprised when you jumped into that race. How do your employees feel about the political side of what you're doing? You mentioned the getting canceled. Did that flow over and cover them too, or was it just focused on you personally?
And it affected the whole company. I mean, they attacked the brand. They didn't attack me because I said I made an intentional decision to not be a known person for a long time because I said people only have so much space in their brain, and I said I want people to know the brand. They don't need to know me. A lot of companies are ran by people where the CEO likes to be known, and then the CEO's battling for attention with the brand, and so. I was very low profile, so people attacked the brand more than they attacked me, which did affect the company. But I'm very loyal to people. I treat people really well. I have a great team, and when you're loyal to people, they tend to reward you with loyalty as well. I'm a big believer in reciprocity, so I treat people well, and they treat me pretty well in return. And we got a mixture of people at Sticker Mill. In fact, my endorsement letter said I hire people on both sides, which you have to do if you have a company over 1,000 people. There's no way to hire just one side, and I wasn't involved in politics for most of my life, so I didn't really look at attracting people from a particular political party. I hire people from both sides, and I treat people well, and I treat people with respect, and we expect that in return. So yeah, the company handled it. It was definitely stressful, but as I said, we went through cancellation 5 times. So I think by the fifth time, people were kind of accustomed to it. It was definitely there was a week when I
Yeah.
first endorsed the president where it was pretty. There was a very stressful
Hmm.
first week because it was over 100,000 emails a day. People saying they wanted to kill us. There were, death threats
Hmm.
towards the company, bomb threats towards the company, people telling my staff to kill themselves. That was the most disturbing thing. The number of
Mm.
people writing to they would just write and they say, kill yourself. And I think they were probably writing to me, but, a customer
Right.
service person's receiving that on the other end and not clear who it's directed to. And you shouldn't go bullying people, telling them to kill themselves. There was an unbelievable number of messages from people, telling my team to kill themselves, which is just abhorrent and truly disgusting. So
Yeah.
they handled it. I can't say it was easy, but we've all known each other for a long time. We get along
Hmm.
really well,
Yeah.
and we got through it.
Yeah, it's always startling, no matter what your background is, when you get those. I've had several myself over the years, including Islamists on X DMing me, telling me they're coming to kill me, which I take pretty seriously, considering I've fought against them for like 40 something years, with them
Yeah.
trying to kill me. So you decided to run for Congress when the president. Decided to nominate Congresswoman Stefanik, who's your district, New York 21, right? And To the UN position, and they were going to have a special, right?
Yeah. So, Roger encouraged me to run. I met Roger a few days after the president won the election. People were encouraging me to run, but mostly local people that were really excited about what I could do to help
Hmm.
our community, to help New York State. They saw my success as a business person, and that I tend to do things for the right reasons, and that's something people want in politics. So I said to Roger, "What do you think?" And he just didn't hesitate at all. He said immediately, "You'd have my full support. You'd have my full support, and I think you should do it. I think it'd be a great idea." And next thing I know, I'm hanging out with Roger for about a week. We went to Mar-a-Lago together. We had Mary Trump's meatloaf and saw the president briefly.
Hmm.
And I announced I'm running. Actually, I announced my interest in the seat from Roger Stone's bathroom. I was at his house and I was going to do an interview, and I had to make a decision. Do I go back to the hotel or do I just do it from his bathroom? And so I announced my interest in running from Roger's bathroom. You know, I had time to get back to the hotel actually. And then I said,
Yeah,
it'll be a lot funnier. I started my political career in Roger Stone's bathroom. So just like you can
that's
never take the
great.
sign away, we can never take that part of the story away either. So, if
Oh yeah.
I go places and turn into something interesting in the future, the
Hmm.
career always starts
Absolutely.
Roger's bathroom.
Absolutely.
Although,
Well, we got to take a break, Anthony. When we come back, although I'm going to play the clip of the audio of the death threat against you from the Conservative Party chair, I think. So we'll be right back, and we'll talk about that. I want to give the audience an insight into how the process was going to work. We'll be right back with Anthony Constantino of Sticker Mule and the Republican Renewal Project of New York, the New York section. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
It can't be a primary. And telling us that you're going to run in November is just a bigger reason why we tend to kill you.
in November?
Yeah. Well, if you decide to run, if you get knocked out of the special,
Sure.
and you tell us you're going to run in November, then we're going to do everything in our power to make sure you're destroyed before you get to November.
Sure.
It's just business. So that's how we all do it.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Whistleblower Wednesday, and there it is. There it is. We intend to kill you because an American citizen decides to step up and run for a federal office. We intend to kill you from not the Democrat crazy communists or the Islamists on the other side, one of our own, a Conservative Party member. I mean, I consider them one of our own. I think Sean Hannity was a member of the Conservative Party in New York for a while. And my guest today is the man who was threatened there, Anthony Constantino, the CEO of Sticker Mule, and a great American and one of the best. Actually, I think the hugest Trump supporter outside of Roger Stone that's walking the planet right now. And he puts his money where his mouth is, and he puts his courage where his mouth is too. And Anthony, what went through your mind when you heard that, man?
Well, I think one of the most disappointing things about, my political experience in general is the extent to which people on our side didn't want help. They don't want help. Politics is about marketing, it's about negotiations, about persuasion. And, I'm a mass marketer. I'm a very talented persuader. That's how I grew my company. And I'm a pretty good negotiator too. And I offer my services to help. And people they didn't want to accept the help. Instead of accepting help, shockingly, I'm getting phone calls. That was the first time I ever talked to Conservative Chairman Gassar. And, right away he starts ranting and screaming. And he was yelling and saying crazy stuff before he even said that, which is why I recorded the call. I said, this is wild what he's saying to me. He's saying, you think you're smarter than us. And he's just getting hot for no reason at all. And, then he says, we're going to kill you. We're going to destroy you. And I said, this is unbelievable. He should be offering help. If he has some difference with, I don't even know if we have a difference of opinion between how we view the world, he should sit down and iron that out with me. But I don't know what his values even are after hearing something like that. I don't know what his values even really are. But that was it was very disappointing. It was obviously concerning. And, what happened subsequently, that the originally thing that raised our alarm bells further. So, we get this call and I didn't really know what to do with it. It's not every day you get a call where somebody threatens to kill you, particularly somebody that's supposed to be fairly powerful. You don't really know what to
Right.
do. I'm new to politics. I go, do I release this right away? I don't want to be known as a person that records calls and then everyone's mad at me. And, so I didn't really know what to do. I sit on it. And then next thing I know, I see, I'm winning every poll. I won every poll in the special, including one by the president's own pollster. And for whatever reason, Chairman Gassar jumps the gun and he had told me he's going to follow the Republicans, but he ends up doing his own thing. He ends up endorsing a state senator, a liberal state senator who refused to support President Trump. He
Mm.
refused to endorse the president multiple times. He endorsed two other candidates that were in single digits when I was at 49%. But I said, that really concerned me because I remember how hostile he was to me. And I said, this guy's really going to do everything he can, including hurting the president, to try to, to try to harm me, to try to harm my
Mm.
career. And, I said, how far would he really be going? Would he really be willing to go? Because I'm not going anywhere. I'm obviously a threat to him. I said, why is he endorsing a guy that hates the president? The president saw that and immediately calls off the election. And so my aide comes to me and he says, my aide comes to me, who was with me when this threatening call was made. And to his credit, he
Mm.
immediately says, he goes, Anthony, that's a historic phone call. I said, you think, why? He said, the guy's threatening to kill you. You're new to politics. He's like, I think I think you have a bright future and this is going to become part of history. But we didn't know what to do. Like I said, we didn't know whether to, I didn't want to be known as a guy recording calls and leaking things and stuff like that. So we didn't really
Mhm.
know what to do until the president calls off the election. My aide says, I want to write an essay. I wrote an essay called The Winners and Losers of the Special Election That Never Happened. He shows me this essay. It's sort of a fun essay. Picked a few
Mm.
winners and a few losers. He designated myself and Congresswoman Stefanik as winners and a few other people. And he designated Chairman Kassar, who threatened me, and his endorsed candidates as losers. We published this in the Daily Gazette. He didn't want to put it under his name. They said, you got to put your name on it. I said,
Uh,
Paul, would you mind? I said, how big does it need to be? He said, they can be pretty small. I said, Paul, would you mind mentioning that you wrote it? We'll put it out. He said, all right, fine, I'll do it. So we publish it. I go off to give the president a statue. I had purchased a statue for him, so I go to his golf course to give him a statue. The next day, I'm actually boxing with Mike Tyson's boxing coach Billy White, and I get a call from Paul, and he says, "Anthony, I'm with the police. Somebody tried to kill me. They cut my brake lines."
wow.
And immediately we thought this has to be political. 3 days after we write an essay criticizing the chairman and other lies of his, my aide's brake lines were cut, and my aide really didn't want to put his name on the essay, and it just seems way too coincidental to ignore what happened and to ignore the threat. So we went to the police. The intake officer who I spoke to immediately said the brake lines seem cut. He told me on the phone, he said the brake lines seem cut. I said, are you sure? This couldn't just be a fluke. Maybe something happened. Are you
Mhm.
sure they're cut? I said, sir, it really seems like they're cut, but we're going to let you know within an hour. We'll know for sure within an hour. So I said, all right. I went and got food with Billy White, waited. They called me back, and the police talked to me, and they said, sir, the brake lines were cut. We got verification the brake lines were cut. So at that point, we got very concerned. I tried to joke it off a little and I said, Paul, I said, you got to look at it this way. I said, it's a great compliment. They only go after the best. They don't just go trying to kill anyone. I said, you got to take it as a great compliment. And so, we took it as a compliment of sorts that this happened to, to us, but, more so to my aide, but it, affected me and really my whole team as well. Um,
Yeah.
but we said, all right, let's see what happens with the police. So next thing we know, we're calling the police every day to get updates into their investigation, and they just keep telling us that the investigators are on vacation. So I said, well, when are they
Mm.
going to be back? And we just keeps going and going and going for a week straight. They tell us the investigators are on vacation. And finally, I called the deputy chief. We got a situation in my town where the police chief, his name's Police Chief Spencer, he's a Democrat ally of the same mayor that tried to throw me in jail over the vote for Trump sign. So I knew he was no fan of mine, and I suspected he just didn't want to be helpful. So I called the deputy chief. I let him know what was going on, and he was immediately sympathetic. He said, I had no idea this happened, Anthony. I said, well, is it normal to ignore an attempted homicide for a week? He said, no, it's not normal. He said, these things never happen. I said, look, I'm an executive with police chief's an executive position. I think instinctively I would make this top priority, but the chief
Mhm.
just sat on it, sat on it, said everybody's on vacation. So he said, I'm gonna work on this, Anthony. I'll get something taken care of. I wake up the next day, I get a phone call from a very disinterested investigator. I thought he wasn't just disinterested, he was borderline rude, telling me this could have
Mm.
just been neighborhood kids. I said, I suspect this is political. And he tells me, well, I can tell you this didn't happen. I said, you should question these people. How do you not know that these people, either have information about who did it or were
Mhm.
involved? He said, I don't know what he said, but he just said he didn't do nothing. They did nothing. They didn't question any of our political adversaries. They didn't question any of the people that were bitter about what I did in the special election. They didn't question Chairman Gassar. And so I called my aide afterwards. I said, "Did you talk to that police officer?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "What'd you think?" He goes, "Terrible." He goes, "I couldn't stand the guy." He goes, "He had no interest at all." And they closed the case immediately. They closed the case immediately. So at that point,
Wow.
I said, "What do I do? What do I do?" So we decided to go public, and we were going to try to go public. I had travel stuff. It's not easy to put together an event. I had some travel plans, and so
Mhm.
I wanted to go public a little sooner than I did. But eventually we went public, and we shared the call. We released the audio. We released what happened with the police. We released by the way, the police wrote two. I call them fake, phony police reports. They had police reports that made no sense at all. They put words in Paul's mouth that he didn't say. They said, I got so angry when I saw this. I read the first police report and it said, Paul Antonelli, Anthony Constantino's aide, told us that a lot of people dislike him because of his political views, and it could be anyone. And I said, Paul, did you say that? He said, I never said anything like that. Paul was a sports journalist before he worked for me, and I
Right.
don't even know his political. He doesn't discuss his political views. I've never seen him make a political post. He said, I told them specifically, I think this was one of Anthony's political adversaries. And they wrote in the post, he told us that it could be anyone because lots of people hate him. I said, people like Paul. I don't know anyone that hates him. And he was a
Yeah.
sports journalist who's most known for covering Mike Tyson. So, it was really, really weird.
What is what has Casaro said about it, about his words? Any comments?
Well, he lawyered up very quickly. His lawyer, I guess somebody talked to him on the streets of, I believe, New York City. That video's out on X somewhere with somebody, and I put it on my Facebook as well. Somebody confronted him over it, and he just said, "It's with the lawyers. It's with the lawyers. It's with the lawyers." I sent Anthony a cease and desist. At the time, I said, "I don't know anything about it." In fact, the media called me today. I said, "I don't know anything about a cease and desist," but we did it. We did get a cease and desist yesterday, some sort of letter, where they're threatening again, to, take legal action. Now it's a legal threat. They're threatening, his lawyer's threatening, but it's not a very good letter. My attorney's in the process of responding. My attorney said, let me handle this one. I kind of want to respond myself. So I'm going to, probably when I'm done with this, we're going to talk to the attorney, and I would like to respond myself, but, I'm going to talk to my attorney and see whether I write the response or he writes the response, or what we do. But I talked my team said, look, I've done everything correct. You can't stop a citizen from telling the public what happened to them. And this is information that's of public interest. It's definitely information that's
Hmm.
of public interest. You have a sitting chairman threatening candidates, to destroy them, to kill them. I had my aides brake lines were cut. We don't know who cut the brake lines, but it's something that I think I'd like to see investigated as best as could be. I can tell you this much:
Yeah.
there was nothing in Chairman attorney's letter about them being interested in getting to the bottom of who cut the brake lines. It'd be nice if the chairman joined me in trying to figure out what happened there, because somebody upset, and maybe it was just somebody that was upset on his behalf that decided to take action, or we don't know what
Yeah.
happened, to be honest. But it'd be nice to see some people, in New York politics say this is not something that should be happening, and we'd like to get to the bottom of it. And we're gonna work on our end to do it, but I'd like to see some other people join us in doing that. And we'll see. I got some sort of weird letter from the chairman, and we're going to be responding to that shortly.
Was there once you made it public, was there any movement on the investigation again, or they just keeping it closed?
Oh, they just stonewalled. In fact, they lied. I felt like they were very dishonest with the reporters. I talked to the reporter because they published the story, and I have a big grievance with the Amsterdam police. I got grievances, right? I mean, obviously, what Chairman Gassar did was inappropriate, threatening a candidate, and that's just not the way you talk to people. Um, that's just not good behavior. But what the Amsterdam police did is really upsetting as well. So we're trying to get that rectified. We're looking at different avenues to try to get that rectified. But no, that I felt they were very dishonest with the journalist, saying, we tried to investigate, but we have no leads. I said, how did you try to investigate? You made no phone calls. I mean, unless they just aren't, but they made no phone calls. And why did you write two erroneous police reports? Why did you make up a fake statement from Paul? And then the investigator said to me the brake lines were cut, and they didn't put that in the police report. I said, why is that
Oh.
not in the police report? And I had it said to me. I said, luckily, it was said to me in front of a witness, and a credible witness. I mean, this isn't a nobody. This is Mike Tyson's boxing coach. So it's not like, I had this guy on the street that was buying a
Hmm.
sandwich, and he heard the phone call. I mean, this is a credible person. Why would Mike Tyson's boxing coach come forward and say, I was there and I heard these words? And he was very concerned too. I mean, he felt terrible. He actually was, ironically, my aide Paul's first boss. So, we had a bit of a connection there.
Yeah. Yeah. So he would naturally be set up. What about Republican leadership in the local area or at the state level? Anybody's come to your defense or?
Grassroots people, the biggest win here, the biggest win has been the grassroots people. A lot of grassroots people reaching out to me, want to be supportive. I'm getting a lot more support on social media now with some major names, wanting to be supportive, and people are upset about the situation at the grassroots level. But I see a lot of complacency in New York politics. I understand people have their own projects they have to work on, and my problems aren't their problems. That's probably politics 101, right? Like, this is my problem. This isn't a problem for the vote. I mean, it's not good for the voters that you have this level of behavior and corruption in New York politics, but the voters are worried about paying their bills and living in a state that's vibrant once again. So, this is my problem. It's particular to me and my team. And I think probably other politicians are looking at it similarly right now, saying, this is Anthony's problem. This isn't really our problem. They're mostly, for the most part of the establishment. I'm the one unique newcomer. I'm the one unique newcomer in New York State.
You're the outsider.
Yeah, and the rest of them, they all know each other, and they're like, "Who's this guy that came out of nowhere?"
You're stepping into their sandbox, Anthony. We got to take another break. When we come back, I'll show a little clip about the new mayor nominee for the Democrat Party. I want to talk to you about that. Get your take on that, because you are going to be working the state and are working the state as a Republican Renewal Project, National Republicans for National Renewal Project Director. So we'll be right back with Anthony Constantino of Sticker Mule, former candidate for New York 21. I hope he does it again. We'll be right back.
And Mayor Mamdani, would you welcome Prime Minister Netanyahu to New York City for whatever he comes for, given the US is not a signatory to the ICC, so he can travel to the US, unlike a lot of other countries. Would a Mayor Mamdani welcome Benjamin Netanyahu to the city?
No. As mayor, New York City would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. This is a city that our values are in line with international law. It's time that our actions are also.
Even though the US is not a signatory to the ICC?
No, it's time that we actually step up and make clear what we are willing to do to showcase the leadership that is sorely missing in the federal administration.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Whistleblower Wednesday, and there you are, the Islamist, Communist, Democrat nominee for the largest city in the United States of America of 8.2 million people that has 2 million, approximately, Muslims in it, and that's what he is. He's anti-Jewish, he's pro-Hamas Nazi, and that's what's going on. And a big part of the responsibility for this, I think, is the Republican Party. Lack of coordinated effort, lack of organization on the ground, lack of good conservative messaging that supports people's safety and prosperity. That's all Americans care about. That's really what Americans care about, no matter whether they're a Baptist, a Catholic, an atheist, or a Muslim. When you're a real American that believes in this country, that's what you care about, your security and your prosperity. You want to be able to live your life. And that guy, he wants to have the government control your grocery stores. You're going to see a lot of Moscow-style empty grocery shelves if that happens. And my guest today is Anthony Constantino, the CEO of Sticker Mule, a former candidate for Congress for New York's 21, Elise Stefanik seat. Now she's back in it. And I have to ask you this, Anthony, after our discussion in the last segment, will you run again?
We're going to see what happens with Congresswoman Stefanik, but we're going to see what happens if she runs for governor. I think it'd be great. We do need to fix New York, and this guy in New York City symbolizes everything that's wrong with the Democrat Party right now. He's bad. I want to say maybe worse than, but he's disgusting, really, in every way possible. His ideas are terrible. He symbolizes everything that's wrong with the Democrat Party. I mean, the Democrat Party should be stopping people like this from running because it's just disgusting. His ideas, and by the way, he's a total faker and a total phony. I saw him, doing an interview the other day with a LGBTQ person, and I said, this guy's a total faker, a total phony. He's pretending that he likes transgender people. I can guarantee you right now, the Muslim community doesn't like transgender people. So why is he lying and pretending that he likes all these people? I have an issue with the transgender community as well. They sent me an exorbitant number of death threats. In fact, many of the people that are saying kill your staff, kill you, were people that were from the transgender community. So why is this guy running around being a faker, saying he likes the gay community, the transgender community, when I can tell you right now, those people should look at the situation very quickly. The Muslim community does not like that community. Just read the Quran. It's obvious. So he's a total liar, he's a total faker, he's a total phony, and he's emblematic of everything that's wrong with the Democrat Party. It's a very dishonest party that lies through their teeth, and they're not about helping America. They're about hurting America for their own gain.
Yeah, what is it with the Democrat Party in New York City? I'm on the board of advisors for the New York Young Republicans, so I've been up there as their guest to events and meetings and those kind of things. When talking, they're staunch conservatives. They are MAGA populists, I would call them. Gavin Wax, the former leader of it, who's now in the government, was a phenomenal president. The current officers are still phenomenal people. I've met most of them, I think, and they work hard. They're well organized, but it doesn't seem like there's any inroads able to be made. And the city's full of these Democrats. What's wrong with these Democrats? Why do they want to hurt themselves? Because that's what they're doing.
I don't know what's going on. I actually lived in New York City for 5 years. I left when they destroyed it during the pandemic. They destroyed it totally during the pandemic. You can't even get a toothbrush easily in New York City anymore. I was there recently visiting. I tried to buy a toothbrush. I had to call somebody to get it out of a locked drawer. It's unbelievable. You can't get a candy bar, toothbrush, candy bar, whatever you want. Everything's behind locked drawers. You can't buy anything because crime is through the roof. New York City wouldn't be a difficult thing to fix. It's unbelievable that people can't see the solution. Solution in New York City is obvious. Increase safety and make the city fun again. It used to be one of the safest and funnest. It used to be, for a large city, it was incredibly safe, and the safety was a foundation for allowing people to have fun, which is what people want in life. They want to have fun and be happy. New York City was incredibly fun, incredibly safe. Those two things go hand in hand. It was called the city that never sleeps. I feel like I'm the only one talking about this. It's called the city that never sleeps. It goes to bed at 10 o'clock now because crime is out of control. Nobody wants to be on the streets at night anymore there. Everything closes early. The restaurants don't want to stay open late anymore because they're concerned about crime. I was out at 11 o'clock. I tried to go to a convenience store and I had to wait in line, in single file line outside to get in a convenience store. I waited about 7-8 minutes and I got tired of it. And I just said, never mind. I don't need to go get that bottle of water. I'll just go figure something else out. But the city's a total mess. The solution's obvious. It's make the city safe again, make the city fun again, get businesses staying open late again so people can enjoy themselves. Instead, the Democrats are putting forward a guy who wants to spend $100 million, I'm told, on transgender surgery. So I mean, it's unbelievable. That and government-run grocery stores and what's supposed to be the most successful city in the world. I mean, New York City was the most successful city in the world. And now we're going to have government-run grocery stores. It makes no sense at all. And then he just lies through his teeth and he says, oh, I love the LGBT community. I love them. I love them so much. If you're a member of that community and, go look what Muslim people really think about you because he's lying through his teeth.
Oh yeah, I even saw a statement from him as part of a talk he was given that I love the LGBTQ community and the path to your safety and security and protecting your rights is to defund the police.
Yeah.
How
By
about
the way,
that for a policy?
I went to an international college, RPI. We had a massive Muslim community. I had a lot of Muslim friends there. Many of them are MAGA. I don't have any issue with that community either, but don't go lying Your religion is 100% against that part of the that demographic. Your religion's 100% against that demographic, and that's fine if that's your religious belief. You get to live life the way you want to live it. But why is there this bizarre alliance at times between LGBTQ and all these other things and the
Mhm.
Muslim community? It's a total phony alliance. It doesn't make any sense at all. This is like something I would love to get to the bottom of, and maybe this New York situation will help us figure it out. But there's this really bizarre alliance. How are we have LGBTQI, WPZ, whatever it's called now, and Muslims who hate that community in the same voting block? It makes no sense at all.
Yeah, it's a Marxist tactic to split the population along. In Marxism, they did it on class lines, but that doesn't work in this country. So they started out on race lines in the 50s and 60s, and you see how that's destroyed the Black American family today by the policies that they put into place.
By the
And then,
way,
then when they realized that racism really wasn't working because we elected Barack Obama, so they went to this whole LGBTQ plus ABC stuff, or first homosexuals for gay marriage, and then this whole transgender thing. So they're trying to divide us. So in this case, the Muslim community on the left, which is allied with the terrorists of Iran and Hamas and those kind of folks, that's the approach that they're using, I'm betting.
I think the biggest fraudster voting bloc in America is the left-wing Muslims. It makes no sense at all because they know how they feel about these liberal ideas. They don't like that stuff at all. They don't like it at all. But yet somehow they're voting for they're voting for Democrats. They know they're defrauding the American population. They don't stand with those communities at all. So it's really
Yeah.
strange. And by the way, I saw something saying that the Black and Hispanic community overwhelmingly voted against this guy, which is,
Yeah.
I was fed this line of crap, and I was talking to a friend of mine from, those communities. I was fed this line of crap that the Democrat Party was all about helping these voting blocks. They wanted to help the Black community so much, which is I always knew was a bunch of BS. But
Mhm.
now you see the Black community, they woke up, they voted overwhelmingly against this guy, this fake Muslim, lover of the LGBTQ movement. By the way, I wonder what his family members in other parts of the world think about him praising the LGBTQ people so much. Somebody should go interview them. But you see the Black community doesn't like it, the Hispanic community doesn't like it, and I think pretty soon, most of the world's not going to like it. You're not going to have people wanting to go to New York City anymore. They're already having a major issue there with people not wanting to go to the city so much anymore, and it's going to get much worse. It's going to be a big tragedy, and it's going to be a symbol. New York City's going to become a symbol for really how bad the Democrat Party is. They already made a symbol out of San Francisco. I guess now they're going to do the same to New York City if somebody doesn't intervene and stop it.
Yeah, it's sad, really, because it is a beautiful city. I'll never forget the first time I spent a week there on the ground downtown around the Times Square areas where we're headquartered at, and we were still the city was still safe under the Giuliani approach, at that time, and it was fantastic. Like you said, you could go out at any time of the night and people would be out and about, stuff would be open, everybody would feel safe, and you could chat with anybody, some people you didn't know, and not be worried about it. And now it's the complete opposite. And I mean, you hear defund the police, and who this guy's team is allied with, and I'm serious. I think it'll become the hub for and the feeder for Islamist terrorism in the country.
No, who knows what's going to happen, but I lived there before the pandemic. Like you said, it's right. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was safe.
Yeah.
It was fun. There were no issues. My first trip back after the pandemic, I'll never forget. I go and park my car, get out the car, and this guy starts following me and my girlfriend. And, we're walking through the city, and he just starts screaming, F you, at the top of his lungs. And she goes, what do we do? I
Wow.
said, just ignore him and just keep walking. Just ignore him and just keep walking. And, we got to the corner, and then he turned, he looked at somebody else, and he started saying, F you, F you. And then he followed them. And I said, this is unbelievable. What is going on in the city? The second time I go, so I leave, I go back, and I come back again. I park my car. As I'm parking my car, somebody just starts beating the crap out of somebody else on the street. I said, what is going on in this city? For last time I'm here after the pandemic, somebody's screaming F you at me. This time, as I'm
Mhm.
parking my car, somebody else is getting the crap beat out of themselves in the street. I went for a walk, and there's people clearly doing drugs, drug dealers on every corner. There were drug dealers on numerous corners as I'm walking through the street at night. And it's just gotten ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, we have a question from the audience. Let's go ahead and take that real quick before we go to the break. Shell is our hostess over there. Go ahead, Shell.
I have a question from the audience, sir. Hello Vortex asks, do you think the government-run grocery stores are for creating halal supply chains for Muslims for control?
Well, I think they want to just get control. I mean, the government's mandate to take control of as much as possible. That's just the way governments think. So, when people say, oh, we're against the government, every organization's mandate is infinite growth. Whether it's Tesla or Sticker Mule or the U.S. government, every organization wants to grow. And so when they see an avenue to grow, like taking control of grocery stores, are going to do it. That's why you need sensible people that fight back against government excess. The most ridiculous thing is this criticism that President Trump is some sort of bizarre dictator or whatever the case may be. He's a person that's fighting to reduce the power of the government. He knows he's only going to be there for a short period of time. President Trump is a sensible individual that's fighting to reduce the power of the government to save our freedom. But every organization wants infinite growth. They just want to grow indefinitely. And this person is looking for an opportunity to grow the power of the government, maybe to benefit the Muslim community, maybe just to make the Democrat Party stronger, because they know if they destroy all those New York City grocers, they want to be, my friend of mine today, he said what they want to be the kings and queens of the trash heap. They want to be the king. They'd rather be the king and queens of the trash heap than to just be citizens in paradise. And New York City used to be a sort of paradise, and many of these people were just citizens. And they said, look, we don't care if we turn New York City into a giant trash heap. We want to be the kings and queens of the trash heap.
Wow, man. We got to take our last break. When we come back, I want to get your perspective on what the outlook for the Republicans for National Renewal Project is going to look like in New York, since you're the director of that now, and what your plans are. We'll be right back with Anthony Constantino, the CEO of Sticker Mule. Go check it out. It's a great company. I'll see you in a minute.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Would you like to gain access to over 20 years of my radio shows, TV shows, my books? I've written 15 books, and most of those books are ebooks now. And we have conference DVDs, conferences where we filmed our conferences at the Ozarks, literally starting 20 years ago. It's all available in our archived vault. All you have to do is go to worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and for a reasonable monthly fee, you gain access to over 20 years of Christian worldview programming, news, information, books, documentaries, and a powerful search engine. And folks, it's a great way not only to educate yourself, equip yourself, but it's a big way that you can help fund our continuation as a broadcast network. Please check it out. worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and help us continue pushing out a Christian worldview.
Elise Stefanik.
Congresswoman Elise Stefanik has strong words for Governor Kathy Hochul, calling her the worst governor in America.
Worst governor in America. Worst governor in America.
North Country Congresswoman Elise Stefanik is certainly taking her opportunities to hit Hochul hard these days.
Congresswoman Elise Stefanik was in Albany Monday, where she condemned the recent budget passed by state Democrats.
Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik joining forces with Republicans in the state Senate and Assembly.
Congresswoman Stefanik says the governor has lost sight of the most important issues in New York State.
The Congresswoman pulled no punches when it comes to the current occupant of the governor's mansion.
Worst governor in America. Worst governor of America. She was booed once again at the Belmont.
Slamming the budget.
It is anti-worker, anti-family.
And telling reporters that if she was elected governor, she would channel President Trump's flurry of executive orders to take a hatchet to New York spending.
It spices this all up, and while she hasn't announced anything official,
a Stefanik run for governor
has been heavily speculated on.
Please know that New York Republicans are listening to you. We hear you, the people of New York. We hear you loudly and clearly. It is time for new leadership to save our state. Thank you very much.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Whistleblower Wednesday, and my guest today is the CEO of Sticker Mule and the new director for New York State's Republicans for National Renewal Project, Anthony Constantino. And Anthony, I had to show that clip because it just matches what I wanted to chat about with you in this segment. I think Congresswoman Stefanik is going to run for governor. She's a fighter. I think she can win. Just on the anecdotal feeling, because she is such a fighter. I know Lee Zeldin did a great job, but I think it would be a walk with her. What are y'all's plans for the state in the next year or so as you get ramped up in this Republicans for National Renewal?
Yeah, the best thing about what happened with with the threat and with the break lines, a lot of people reached out and they want to get help. I think people are more motivated than ever to try to help. Even though this attack came from our side, people are energized. Particularly, people are energized to see renewal in New York State, to see New York State moving in a better direction. That means we're going to be working to elect candidates at the state and federal level that are more MAGA minded, that we view as being more MAGA minded, more in line with the views of the president, and also funding intra-party contests to get people out. I mean, there's a lot of people that have been around at the lower levels of the party for a long time that maybe don't think the way the president thinks. They think maybe the way Jeb Bush thinks, or who knows what they think, to be honest. Maybe they just enjoy going to their dinners every now and then. But we want to get more people in that are think similarly to the president, that have the president's values, that have the MAGA values and America First values. One of the president's most important values is winning, because if you don't win, you can't do anything. And we want to support people that are excited to win. They want to win both their seat, and they want to win and turn New York red and make New York great again. The best thing about going into a situation where you have a failing state or a failing organization, the best thing about walking into a failing organization is there's tremendous upside to fix it. I wouldn't want to walk into Tesla and try to figure out how to outclass Elon Musk, but New York State's going in a terrible direction, and it means there's tremendous upside to make life better here. So we're gonna be working to elect people that think like the president, that like to win, that truly embrace conservative values, and there's tremendous opportunity to make New York a much better place to live and to make New York great again.
Absolutely. We've got another question from the audience. We'll go ahead and take that before we get to the end of the show. Go ahead, Shel.
We have Deborah, sir.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you for your service, Colonel. I'm the proud mother of two Navy warriors, and so my hat's off to you, and I thank you with all my heart. And thank you, Mr. Constantino, for the extraordinary work you're doing promoting America First values here at home. My question is really rooted in a concern that has been escalating over the course of the past several months. And that is, of course, the political violence that we see also infecting the right side of the aisle. And a huge concern, particularly of late, has been that some of these icons on the right, Candace Owen, Tucker Carlson, Mr. Bannon, have some of their discourse regarding, let's say, AIPAC or Israel and what's taking place in Gaza, that really they have set the table for goons like Mamdani, who I mean, it just cannot be allowed.
Do you have a
so
question?
My question is, both of you are so engaged. What do you think our party needs to do in order to reel in some of this discourse that I think is really toxic? I mean, here it is, right? A death threat, and not just a death threat, someone who made good on those threats.
Sure, I think I understand her question. Great. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, so I'm a believer that all legal discourse is fine. I think debate within the party is fine. I think all legal discourse is fine. It's okay for people to think differently than me, within the party, even on the other side of the aisle. But there are like lines we need to stay within, and we shouldn't be threatening to kill each other, and we shouldn't be actually, moving towards, violence or engaging in violence in any way. I was very much against censorship when it was going on. The Democrats were running wild with censorship. I said conversation calms tension, censorship inflames. People resort to violence when they feel like they're not being heard. So we got to give people a chance to speak. I'm not a big believer in saying certain types of debates are toxic per se, because as long as they're legal debates about a difference of opinion, that's fine. And so I think the right move is let people talk more, let people debate more, but put a clear line in the sand that we're just going to debate. This is about selling ideas and winning the war of words.
Yeah, since it was directed at me too, I'll give my answer to that. I agree with you, Anthony. The answer to bad speech is more speech, is better speech and better ideas, and that's where we need to go. And folks, sometimes governments are going to be criticized when people question their activities and actions, and that's what you're seeing. Now, some people go and stray into places where they can get accused of being things like anti-Semitic or racist and those kind of things. That's going to happen. The answer to that is more and better speech to win the debate. It is not to censor it, because speech doesn't cause violence. Let me say that one more time. Speech does not cause violence. Violence is what it is. And if you're going to take up arms or take up violence to use as a tool for political purposes, you are a terrorist. That's the definition of terrorism. That's why we fight against terrorism. So more speech and better ideas is the answer to those kinds of things. And I can't believe that people in this country want to stop people from speaking because they're criticizing their favorite government or their favorite person or whatever. Look, I've criticized every name that Deborah listed off, and I've been criticized by some of them. I've criticized the current president of the United States, and every president before that, because it's my responsibility as an American citizen, isn't it, to be active and engaged in our politics and our government? Anthony?
No, I agree 100%. We got to talk, and that's the best thing. That's the best way to get to truth. We got to talk, and we can't be censoring speech. I got very upset. Yeah. We almost went through a dark ages. People forget we went through a dark ages not very long ago where they were censoring everything. They weren't letting people talk. And I said to somebody recently, in fact, ironically, I'm just remembering, days before the brake lines were cut, I made a joke to a friend. I said, because I said there's 3 steps to politics. I said three phases of debate. I said, first you try to fight with words. If that doesn't work, you call the lawyers. If that doesn't work, you call the lawyers, right? And if the lawyers don't work, then you start trying to hurt each other physically. And I made that joke because I won the war of words in my campaign. I won the war of words. I won over the voters. I was at 49% in the polls. And I won that debate. And immediately after it ended, I forgot to mention, they went out and they got lawyers. They stuck lawyers on me and they threatened to sue me. They had no case, but I got a letter saying they threatened to sue me. And I said to my friend, I said, well, they're at step 2. Step 3 is trying to hurt me physically. And then 2 days later, we got the brake lines cut. And so, yeah, we have to stick with the war of words. I don't even like the war of lawyers. I mean, I don't, sometimes you have to get lawyers involved, but look what they did with the president with lawfare. That was totally inappropriate too. We got to get that out of the political process as well. We need to let people debate ideas. What they did with lawyers going after the president, like lunatics with lawyers with lawfare, trying to win the election through lawfare all over the country and all different jurisdictions. It was craziness. So yeah, say it goes that way. You argue with words, and then they go to lawyers, and then if that don't work, then they go to violence. So we got to stick to words.
And that's exactly what happened to President Trump, isn't it? They went with words. They lost. They went with lawfare. They lost tremendously, dramatically, embarrassingly. And then the next thing that happens is people are trying to kill him all of a sudden. And it looks like in both of the incidences where we've got the perpetrators, the dead guy and the guy that was arrested down in Florida at the golf course, it looks like there's some type of organizing principle, at least around both of those gentlemen. We still don't know exactly what's going on with that. And hopefully Kash Patel and the investigators are going to get to the bottom of this at some point, because the president and his family really deserve to know, outside of the political stuff, he and his family have to go on living here in a few years when they leave office. His sons may want to run for office themselves, but their kids and grandkids, it's just not right that they not know what the answers to the questions about those attacks is it?
It's not right for them. It's not right for the American people. You can't tell me. Look at that kid that got up on that roof and shot the president. You can't tell me that kid figured all that out on his own. You can't tell me. The kid seemed like IQ that didn't break 100. How do you figure out how to do that? It's not an easy thing to do, right? It's very difficult. Go by yourself, and you can't tell me there's not a little more to that story. And why do we not have the
I'm not sure, but I think we might have lost Anthony there. What I was going to ask him was, we're coming up on the end of the show now. I've got about a minute left. If he comes back, we'll bring him in and ask him this question. But the answer or the question that I was going to ask him was, how can folks go sign up for the New York Republicans for National Renewal to help him out? And Anthony, I think you're back with us now. Did you hear my question?
Technical difficulty, little technical difficulty, but go to how do we get in touch, and how do we just go to vote for Anthony. I said I'm a little bit different as a politician. Everyone's like, you got to put a donate button on your website. I said no, I'm going to do a different button. It's going to say apply for funding. I want to help other people with their financial needs to win races. I don't want to ask people for money. I said it doesn't really make sense for a successful business person to ask for ask for money, especially not at the the level I'm operating at this point. So go to vote for Anthony. You can apply for funding. Let me know what you're doing, and my team will get in touch with you and see.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Mission for Freedom. I am one of your hosts. I know Zanny Cyrus. We are working on bringing Miriam Shaw on air with us. I don't know why, but last time we had the same technical difficulties, but that's okay. I will talk to you for a minute or two or five until we can get Miriam on. If you are new, well, I know you're not new to this network or